So welcome back to Bomberos on Fire podcast. My name is Armando. You call me Mando. I'm here with a really special guest, a beautiful man all around Central Florida. But before I start talking and get into the weeds of the stuff, I want to say thank you for those who came back to the podcast. Thank you for the new people that are showing up. And also, if you want to support the channel or the podcast or whatever you guys doing, please subscribe, like. What else people said? Subscribe, like, and share.
I think so, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
I'm new to this, Armando.
Somewhere around here is that's what I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah, that would help a lot to make the channel happen. To more subscriber, the more things I have, so I can actually put it out there. And yeah, and this podcast for you guys all around the world, Spanish,
Yes.
English, and yeah. And today we have a special guest. Like I said, it's a beautiful man in Central Florida. To me, he's one of the smartest persons I met in my life in the medical field, and X-Men.
Yes.
After that, yeah, X-Men and medical field.
X-Men.
Yeah. To me, you should be, bro. You should be EMS chief or somewhere around that realm to help out the troops. That will be your.
I love
to me.
what
To me,
I get told that lots, but I
bet
I really love what I do.
I bet. I know. I notice, and that stuff you can see that through when you talk, and it's awesome. Well, welcome to the show, bro. Andrew, you can present yourself,
Thank you.
who you are,
Yeah.
and we can start from there.
Well, I'm Andrew Simpson. I'm a paramedic preceptor around the Central Florida area, and I've been a paramedic a little over 20 years. Been doing this a long time, so as long as I can remember, and far back, most all my adult life, I've been doing this, and read it, teach it, perform it, practice it. It's what I do. It's what I love.
You eat it, swallow it, you name it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the craziness to the point where sometimes I'm told I have to put the book down. I actually have a book I was reading over here while waiting on the podcast. It's always just something I do. It's all over my phone. I have apps, so always just try to keep myself as sharp as possible.
I know, and we notice, and we appreciate it. The people who around you, we do appreciate when you see you on scene, like, oh, who's Andrew? Perfect. So everything should be
well.
awesome.
I'm always honored to work with, working with everybody like that. The honor has always been that the work alongside remarkable people like this in this field has always been such a wonderful thing. That's part of the reason why I show up to work a lot of times is the folks that I work with are friends, family in the trenches together, and we see the worst, we see the best, but it just wouldn't trade it for the world. I couldn't trade. It just is one of those things that I don't think you could explain to somebody on the outside too well unless they experience it themselves and just see how unique our job is and how wonderful it is.
It is, and also has the ups and downs. And before we got into the downs, how did you got into the medical field? Was it like what ticked you? Like you know what? I want to be a medic, or I want to be in the medical field in general.
Honestly, what happened to me was I took an EMT course and I could not put the book down. I looked at things, and then when I looked at this, I didn't know how this worked. So then I would find something. Of course, this is before YouTube and Google was really prevalent on the internet. So a lot of it was asking, picking brains, and my clinicals, going and asking people things, and to the point where it got to be. I remember one Thanksgiving when I took my EMT, my family had to tell me to put the book down because I was just so. I was just so enthralled by everything there. I loved every last little bit that I was doing there. I was trying to learn, why was it that, how did you take the blood pressures? I was doing blood pressures on myself while watching TV. I was that kid.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sure my parents were just happy I put down a comic book and started something else. But it was definitely something that clicked in my life.
I see that. You drink the whole Kool-Aid, like we said.
Yeah, I guess it was. It was as soon as you open that up there, it was just like, and how I got into it, I remember I was in the car. We were going to, this is I was about to graduate high school. I remember telling my parents, I asked them what paramedics do. And my mom was like, oh, they do this. I think she was like, they run on ambulances. They do that. And yeah, you'd be good at that. Then,
sure. Yeah, sure, Mom. Whatever.
Kind of went from there, and I literally went to high school with Ali Sadek. He said, as he said during the previous time he met with you on this podcast, and I
Yeah,
literally left that high school with my diploma in hand and enrolled in EMT school, and the rest was history. And I've just been doing it ever since. We
that's
have,
great.
it's truly a blessing when you look at it from that standpoint, that not a lot of people come out of high school knowing what they want to do.
Yeah.
And for me, I was just really lucky to have something click immediately and get into it. But then, my grandfather was in the Coast Guard, and I had
Mhm.
um, he was a volunteer firefighter in Massachusetts. My great aunt was a nurse practitioner, so a lot of the EMS, search rescue,
Okay.
hospital, a lot of that stuff was kind of in my blood. So I think it triggered something in me there. He was, when he was in the Coast Guard, he was an admiral, and I think that's kind of where some of this
Wow.
is coming from. There's something in my DNA, I think, that it
Yeah,
just clicked
yeah.
in.
That's awesome, bro. I started early too when I was 17, but I was in a third world
Hmm.
country. I was a different country than here before I
Yeah.
started EMS. So
Yeah.
I've been doing almost the same amount of time as you, but I have to
Yeah.
do in two different countries, and I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
I feel the passion, man. It's a calling. That's what I
It
look
really
like.
is. I tell my wife a lot of times, she says, "Hey, I don't know uh, when I'm due to retire, am I going to be ready to give it up?" And I think the big thing for me is I have to look at it as I'm probably just going to go in the education role, or take
Oh yeah,
something seat back where I can't lift the stretchers and be there next to the patients, which is what I really love, is being able to um, kind of be on the scene and perform and practice medicine the way we do is something we do. I was always told that we do more for the patient in 20 minutes than they do in several hours once they get to the hospital.
yeah,
EMS is truly on. I mean, we do so much for them, and we impact them. We're the first medical contact that they have with the medical system, and so I try to make that as positive as possible. I know that sounds corny, but a lot of times, it could be your worst day for them, right? It could be your worst day for these people, but it's their worst day. For us, it's another day at the office. And I try to keep that in perspective a lot of
yeah,
times.
yeah, and it's true. That's a true statement. And people that know you knows that you are passionate about EMS, but it's more in specific pediatric.
Yeah.
That's your thing. What makes you? Because in the EMS world, for those who doesn't know, or the medics, like brand new medics, when you get into the EMS, you need trauma, cardiac, strokes, and then you got peds, and peds scare shit out of people in
Yeah.
general.
I think it's simply put, it happened by accident for me, really. I was a PALS instructor, and really, I've always felt in EMS education, a lot of the stuff around the Central Florida area, I can't attest for the programs around the country, but towards the last semesters, they say, oh, it's only OB and peds, and it's like the home stretch of paramedic school. So I don't really think we do a very good job of addressing the unique needs of the pediatric population. For me personally, I was working in I worked around the Central Florida area, and I got an opportunity to work before coming to our current employer.
Yeah,
To a children's hospital as one of the new critical care pediatrics medics, and on acute care there was acute care and a critical care, so we kind of danced around those two, and I really learned a lot off of that, and it evolved the medical science and the medical knowledge, so I had a much deeper understanding of the unique needs of the pediatric population, stuff that we don't really get a lot of. So I think you either get, and a lot of it is, I found with pediatrics, is getting down on their level, talking so they understand, and being honest. I mean, honesty is key with them. The moment you say something to them that says, I'm not going to hurt you, and you check a blood sugar, you've lied to them, and you've lost all credibility with them. You
yeah,
have to learn to be kind of a big kid. You have to get down on their level. Yes, having children does help. Other times it does help when you just sit down and talk to them on a one-on-one, and you really have to know the age bracket really well.
yeah.
Remember, they have very unique needs that I don't think in pre-hospital medicine we do an adequate job of setting up pre-hospital providers for success in this role.
Yeah, because what you hear all the time in the school is that, oh, pediatric is small adults. They're not small adults.
Oh yeah, that's like
You,
nails on a
oh,
chalkboard to me.
I saw that
Anytime you
face.
put adult Yeah, it's like anytime you put adult parameters on on pediatrics, that's when you're asking for trouble. They just don't understand some of the stuff, and then for them, they fear pain. They don't want you taken away from mom and dad. There's stuff that we would look at as not as lethal. The blood pressures, stuff like that. We go, oh my gosh, their blood pressure's low because we put adult parameters on it, but it's actually
Yeah.
normotensive for that age bracket. So PALS does an adequate job of doing that, taking care of that, and most pediatric education tries to do that. But let's face it, a lot of the times, when about in 8 out of 10 calls we have are adults. So we get better practice with that. Now, what I would hope to see is more training on that on the PED setting, because I think it's just one of those things we just don't do a very good job of educating pre-hospital providers with.
No, I agree. And another thing about pediatric, it's not just the kid; it's the parents. Sometimes
Yes.
somebody treat the parents, not the kid. The kid is fine. It's just
Yeah.
making sure mom and dad doesn't freak out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I get that. You and I are both parents, and whatever knowledge sometimes goes out the window, especially when it's your kid. To me, but a lot of it is trying to also gain the trust of the family. We have a very important job. Think of it this way: when they call for us, there's a trust and an understanding from the public that we know what we're doing with these little ones.
Yeah.
And from a parental standpoint, you're putting your faith and your trust in this pre-hospital provider to take care of your child. So the one thing I try to strive for is make sure I don't break that trust. Um, just simply because once it's everything to me whenever I'm dealing with pediatric is trust, understanding, and a lot of times too, it's one of those things. If the child is able to understand and they see mom and dad are okay, they're going to follow suit and they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You try to get down on their level as best as you can and understand what they're asking about. Um, Sometimes it's better to know with my kids. I kind of know exactly what kids you're into these days, so that kind of helps me out a little bit. So I know some of the lingo, but other times I have no idea. But you
Oh
ask.
yeah.
Sometimes I have them explain it to you. That it shows that they're interested. You're interested in what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
So,
And also depends of the age because I have
oh yeah,
patients that are Paw Patrol, Baby Shark, and then I
yes,
got somebody else getting to 17, 18 years old. You know that little gray area, the 16, 17.
yes.
Oh, I'm into I don't know, Game of Thrones, bro. That's for adults. Why are you
Yeah.
watching?
Well, the tactic I've used with your preteens, teens, and even your school age children, they are looking for some form of autonomy outside of the parental. They still want the parental insight, but they want something there. So I try to add them in. Ultimately, under 18, parents make the final say, but speak to them on an equal level
Yeah,
playing field and have them kind of somewhat call their own shots. What do you think? Add them into their care plan. Because that makes them feel like they're an adult, that you're
yeah,
treating them as an equal, and that seems to work well for me with that age bracket. They seem to have an issue with if you treat them like a child, they clam up and they just don't want anything to do with you. I mean, think back to when you were a teenager. Someone said, "Well, you're a child." You're like, "No, I'm not. I'm 14," or "I'm," you know what I
yeah.
memy
I got
You
hair in
got
my
all
hair.
upset about it.
Look at
Yeah,
my
look at my
mustache.
yeah, exactly. It's that would be one of those things. Like, believe it or not, my mom and dad got on my case because I was desperate. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to dye my hair. Believe it or not.
Oh, you got hair.
Yeah, I mean, I did back then. So looking back at this many years ago, I joke with my mom and dad and say, "Well, you remember me? I wanted to dye my hair," and they started laughing. They were like, "When you had it," and they were like, "Yeah, exactly."
Yeah,
So
yeah. Now you have to paint it with a brush. And that's it.
if
With a
that, yeah,
Sharpie.
yeah, if
Yeah.
that, it's. I think it's gonna all come in gray. After my years in EMS are definitely showing if I grew the hair.
Oh yeah, 100%. The hair and the beard,
I
100%.
Yeah, and the beard too. The beard will come in there, and it's I can grow it pretty quickly, but man, it'll start. I had it one time where it was my natural hair color, which is dirty blonde, and then now I think it's gonna be all gray.
Oh, you blonde? Look at you.
I was dirty blonde. Yeah,
Oh,
I was very blonde uh, uh, when I was a very almost bleach blonde, because it was like we looked
oh,
very German as little kids. And whenever we looked at my brother and I, we had the bowl cuts and everything. So you see these old at my parents' house, we have these old chalk paintings there, and I had blonde hair, and people come over, they're like, "You had hair?" And I said, "Yes." They go, "Was that blonde?" I said, Yeah, and over time it turned
Yeah,
into more dirty blonde. The sun hit it and went through several summers, but yeah,
yeah.
it was definitely
It just went
that way
away.
years ago. Now it's just very gray.
Oh, I know you're dirty, but I didn't know you were blonde,
Yeah,
which is
well,
great.
yeah, that's it's probably it's lack of hygiene, probably something like that too going on. So
I know, I
showering
know
when you can, those
exactly.
busy
Yeah,
shifts, you just don't have time.
yeah, bro. EMS life, 7-Eleven, gas
EMS
station,
life,
waiting for the
exactly
call.
right.
Yeah,
It's
Subway,
yeah, it's
just all the
that's the
restrooms.
one thing, that's the one thing, man. I used to work 24-hour shifts at another agency when I first started, and I was telling some old colleagues this last week. I said, I don't know if I could do it anymore. With the op tempo that we had before, it wasn't where I could count on one hand at that agency how many times we slept.
Oh yeah,
And I was there 7 years. I'm saying 14, 15 calls. And I remember we were just so tired. You were running off of adrenaline and coffee at 4 a.m. That
yeah, yeah.
last 3 a.m., I used to call it the witching hour because it's the last 4 hours before your shift was done for us. Man, I don't know if I could do it again. It just was it made me the medic I am today, and I cut my teeth. Oh man, like I don't miss that as much.
No, me too. My previous agency, as you know, I was in a
Mm,
really bad area in Orlando. OBT and Pine
yeah.
Hills, between those two.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And just like you, at least I got a station where to kind of go, but I never spent time
yeah,
in the station.
yeah. We never
Sh-
saw it.
20
One that
calls in
sticks out in my
24
head.
hours. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, one that sticks out in my head was, and one of our captains was there at our agency now that he was actually working on a sister unit to mine. I sat down my stuff. I had a call at 7 a.m. I didn't come back until about 2 a.m. the next day because we were just back and forth, and my
Yeah.
bag and everything was just sitting right where I left it from that call this morning, and I didn't get back. And I remember thinking that to myself, going, "Man, how am I?" And then I remember thinking at that point too, I was like, did I eat anything today? I was like, I think the only thing I had was an Uncrustable, but I've
Oh
just
yeah.
been taking care of it. And, the one thing I tell people is be nice to your fire and EMS folks because they're doing a lot for the community. And you think back to what we do for it, man, it's what we're doing. It's just work for us. But some people roll their eyes and go, I can't believe you guys do this. And sometimes I can't believe we do it. So,
I know. And in the same way I say to people, that be nice to your EMS providers, the single
mhm.
medics, because those the one taking the chunk of the calls from you. Hopefully, no,
Oh
you know how
yeah.
it is.
Yeah. And
But
the thing was, it's a lot of our first responders out here. They've. I'm glad nowadays that they've come up here and dealing with PTSD and a lot of the stuff we have. This is something you can't turn off sometimes.
yeah,
Um, you can't. It's very easy to say, "Hey, leave work at work." You can't.
it's hard. You can't.
I speak from experience here. I mean, I've got a
Right.
bookshelf full of medical books here. So, and I mean, if you look here, I was reading an older ACLS book, ACLS EP. I
Oh my
can't leave
god.
this stuff at home. So
Hey, bro,
I just was reading it.
I'm doing a podcast about mental health for firefighters and EMS providers. So what do you? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's to me, there's stuff that since '06 that I still think about. I still understand. I
yeah,
still remember, and I feel like I've grown. But back then I didn't have a wife and kids and everything. And it's very difficult for us to juggle so much. I'm sorry, I've got a bunch of dogs out here. If you hear that
yes.
barking, the wonder dogs defending the house.
Oh
But
yeah,
I don't. To me, I'm so happy because when I first started, I can remember telling a supervisor I had just seen something harrowing. Just I saw a bunch of kids that were ejected out of a vehicle, and it was very difficult. This is back when the fire department around the area had a helicopter that landed
yeah, yeah.
there, and that was our own. And it was used a lot. But I remember they were there, and I came back to the station, and I remember during this time too. I the call I had, the girl was actually she had a cut on her hand, but she was swinging blood all over the place. And we wore white uniforms, so it was all over my front of my uniform. Didn't even
Oh,
notice it. Um, Worked on her, got her taken care of. And I remember getting back to the station and they said, I'm sorry, you got to stay here. And I
Yeah.
said, after that call, and I said, guys, I am just not in the right mental state. And I was told, buck up, shut up, and get back on the truck. That
Oh
was
yeah.
like, now I think back to this and I was like, that wouldn't happen today. You saw me dead tired. Number one, they said, "Oh, you got blood on your shirt." Yeah, I've got blood on there. It was terrible. I didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
And now you want me to go back out there on the truck? And they're like, get another uniform. I'm like, now I feel like that as an industry, we've realized that's not safe. Number one,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a good image, me coming on scene there with blood on my shirt. But same
Yeah.
thing, when you saw something like that, and I was about 21, 22 years old, stuff that nobody's ever supposed to see in their life or
Yeah.
experience. That
Oh,
was what I think back to with mental hygiene now in EMS is folks are just, we've become better at recognizing it. But I remember, and this is going to sound corny, but I remember I came back to my apartment and I was a bachelor. And I remember my mother called me up and said, "Hey, I saw you on the news and everything." Because I was there. You could see, I wasn't bald yet, Armando, but you could definitely
oh,
tell my head, and she knew her son, back of her head's son, excuse me,
yeah.
her son's back of the head, excuse me, there, uh, from the helicopter from the
Yeah.
news, and she was, oh yeah, what was it? And she always had a little bit of fascination with it, and I said, Mom, I don't want to talk about it, and she knew in my voice something was wrong, and she came over there, and that was the best thing, just talking to her about it, and that was my own debriefing. Because at that agency, we didn't have any debriefing. We were
Yeah.
basically told to suck it up and get back out there. And it's no wonder in this industry now that we have a lot of issues that are coming to the forefront, uh, just with mental
Suicide,
hygiene and
depression.
just,
Oh,
it's terrible.
you name
Yeah.
it.
Anxiety, depression,
Hmm.
drinking. It's for someone to tell you to turn it off when you get home. That's, that's not, that doesn't happen for people like us, Armando. This is who
Yeah.
we are. This, it's a calling. We talked about that. You're meant to do it, but there's times where it's like, it's tough. It's a tough transition. You wouldn't think it would be coming from firefighter, paramedic, police officer, EMT, nurse, physician, emergency room physician, and going home, and now you have to switch it to dad, husband, wife,
Yeah.
uh, you know, uh,
You name it. You name it.
mom. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very difficult. And it's a very difficult transition for guys like us and guys and girls like us. And it's just, I couldn't, I don't think I could, it's a very difficult transition.
It is. It is. And I'm glad that now we have peer support teams and we have resources. Now
Yes.
the problem is not the resources that we don't have any, is to get to the resource. Because some people now say, hey, you get a peer support team. But I don't want to talk about it. So now the
Yeah.
problem is
Yeah.
not having the help, is getting the help that I
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah. It's, there are times where, uh, I've had, there was a few, just, throughout my career, I do have a contingency plan. If something happens like that, and I realize that there's an issue, I'm not picking up any EMS books. I'm not reading. I'm not learning anything new. I do something that other hobbies, and I just have to get mentally, I have to get off of it. And it's just, there's times where I'll talk to my wife about certain things nowadays. If something's bothering me, she's really good about that. Just trying to pick up. She's is an EMT. Even my kids are getting better about that. Just, Dad, you're not, sit down, and relax. Okay.
Oh, all right. All
And
right.
they know what I watch is cartoons, so they put that on. It's anything else is too deep for me. This is what I tell people.
It's true.
I don't want
Hey,
to hear
it's
the
true.
real world stuff. I just don't put on Law and Order or any of the other stuff. I don't care. Just put on a cartoon. I'm happy. So,
What do you do? Well, besides watching cartoons, what do you do to decompress, or hobbies that you have besides X-Men? Because I do want to talk about X-Men for those nerds that will
uh,
listen to this episode. Eventually, we'll talk about it because you are a
yeah, yeah.
subject matter expert. But what do you do?
For me, honestly, it sounds corny, but I spend time with my kids. So I try to be dad
Oh,
as
that's
much
good.
as I can.
Okay.
I go just to the range and shooting with my brother. The one
Okay.
we used to go to, I haven't been able to do it in a long time, simply because it's not because I can't, but the range that was nearby us is now gone. So
Oh, so
I haven't had the time. And my brother he lives in College Park, so we can't always get together and do that as much as we used to. So looking for a new one, but I do that with I did that. My wife would go with me and stuff like that. But a lot of it too is we would that was pretty much my hobbies. There is going shooting, and of course
shooting.
I collect comic books. I mean, that's painfully evident behind me here is
Yeah.
that there's
So
comic books
cartoons
galore.
and shooting. That's basically what it
Yeah,
is.
pretty much. Yeah, it's that's the big thing is pretty much it. Maybe that's a weird combo.
I know that's you, buddy. Hey, that's
I
perfect. That's
guess it
you.
is. It's one of those things that I didn't think I was going to get into that stuff, but
Okay.
we I got into it and I had fun, and I can't spend any more on it simply because
Oh, that's true.
I want my
That's
marriage to be intact.
that's expensive hobby. Both of those are
It
expensive.
really is. Comic books can get that way too, depending on what it is. The trick to it is just don't tell your wife you bought that comic. Oh, I didn't know.
It's true.
Whoops.
It's true.
But then you have to explain, I worked overtime. This was tough. I'm rewarding myself.
Yeah.
So
I make good money, so this is for me,
yeah,
only
yeah,
me. Do not touch it.
yeah, definitely.
Don't ruin my page.
Yes, of course. Yeah, the money. Oh man, we make good money, so it's blessed to have that, man. It's just one of those things. I'm so thankful that you can take care of the wife and kids and do
Yeah,
a job you love. I mean, what more can you ask for in life to me?
exactly.
So
That's true. That's life, buddy. And it's true that you have a flamethrower or a bazooka. I don't remember what you have. A
I
grenade,
have a grenade launcher,
grenade
37
launcher.
millimeter grenade launcher.
Oh
So the
my god,
story went with this. Yes, I
Jesus.
know. Now, now I'm being
Yeah.
painted a picture that people are going to turn off this podcast and go psycho. So, but no, the story went was my wife was getting a tattoo. I found this 37 millimeter grenade launcher, which I found at one of the local gun stores that was there, and it was going for $450. And they gave me a first responder discount there. The first responder discount I think was like 400. So I told my wife about it. She said, "Absolutely not. We don't need a grenade launcher." Well, that made me want it more.
Yeah.
Obviously, now this
Four
is
hundred bucks is cheap.
yeah, it's like challenge accepted. I mean, who has a grenade launcher? I mean, it's like nobody I know has a grenade launcher. So I went and
Yeah.
I talked to a couple guys from the fire department. They were like, "Andrew, you got to get that thing." I mean, they're like, "Okay." And I was like, "All right, I gotta get this thing." So, my wife says she's talking to me, and I'm at work, and she says, "Oh, I'm getting this new tattoo." And I said, "How much was the tattoo, honey?" She says, "Oh, it's paid for. Don't worry. It's good. We're getting the tattoo here soon."
Oh,
I said,
how
"Oh."
much is?
Um, I said, well, I don't, I'm, is what is it of? She's like, oh, it's, I'm getting one of Figment. So, okay, how much was the tattoo? She goes, oh, I go, how much was it? She goes, $400. So I went, oh, what was that? She goes,
Oh,
$400. I said, so you can get that. Now I can't get this grenade launcher. She said, fine, go get the grenade launcher. So I won in that regard. Now I have to probably sleep on the sofa for a night or two. It was worth it.
grenade launcher. Oh my
I got
god.
as the grenade launcher. I was a happy owner of it.
Oh, I
And
bet.
apparently, when I talk to people, they say you really can't find those much anymore. That they're getting harder and harder to find. And
Yeah.
when we did save training a couple years ago, I remember the SWAT guys were telling us, they were like, "Where did you get that thing? That thing is so cool." I'm like, "It's awesome." I'm sure they were probably did background checks on me and everything else, and wanted to
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
tabs on me. It's
Probably.
great. I mean, you just can't get anti-personnel rounds for it. Apparently, they frown upon that. But you can get smoke grenades,
Oh
tear
my god.
gas, and all that stuff like that. I think it's the exact, from what a couple of SWAT guys use, they said it's the exact same one that they used for entry and stuff like, or not entry, but when they're trying to tear gas
Yeah.
somebody or try to get them out. So this one was barely used, and there's apparently websites where you can buy all the stuff. They had one that was a grappling hook that you could shoot out of it. And I thought that was
Grappling
awesome.
hook.
I was like, man, I can do some Batman there. That might be pretty cool.
Oh, you gotta.
My wife was like,
God,
"No, why?" So fortunately, I had to get a new roof for this. So for the house, so I can't really be buying a lot of that stuff like I should
a
be.
grab. Yeah, you should be like this is America, buddy. You can you
Yeah,
allow
exactly,
freedom.
exactly.
It's freedom of the
It's
country.
when I got it, she just shook her head and said, "I'm glad you got it." And that was it. I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, perfect." And
Oh,
so,
I
uh,
would love to try that grenade launcher one day, just to
yeah,
shoot my
yeah,
crap.
I mean, when they asked me what I was going to use it for, the gun store, I said home defense, and they busted out laughing. So
What do you
no,
have?
no, it's
You got tear gas. What do you have actually? Munition what? You got the normal grenade, I guess.
mostly
I don't
it's
know.
just they have like munitions for that. Is mostly I've done the fireworks, so it's pretty much what it becomes into is a massive flare gun. That you can get there. You
Mm,
can get some of the other stuff for it. I've not delved into going looking for anything that's like your vesican agents and all that, their crowd control. I haven't delved into that. I'm sure somebody would look for it and go, "Hey, well, what's this guy doing?" But they have stuff there. It's basically huge fireworks. And what it
okay.
does, man, when that thing goes off, it is loud. So
Oh, I bet.
but excuse me, that's one of those
Beautiful.
things you got to be careful with that thing though too, because it's like it's got a pistol grip on it, and it's got an extended thing on there, and it's people were telling me you can use it as a golf ball launcher. I'm like, that's deadly. I mean, I wouldn't want to do that.
Oh,
Oh man. Yeah, a couple of the guys we work with were showing me. He was like, "Oh yeah, you got to use this thing." I'm like, "That's going to get me in trouble."
oh,
So, especially on
100%.
residential neighborhoods. So,
100%. Oh my God. You can use, yeah, I can see that. I can see some of the guys who
yeah,
work with telling, yeah, just do it. Who cares?
yeah, oh yeah, they're bad influences on me. That's what it is. It's probably we're bad influences on each other. I think is the big thing. It's
Yes, we are.
it's on one person. You're like, oh man, if I get in trouble, and then those guys are like, bro, you shouldn't have done that. I'm like, well, listen to you.
Exactly. But that's how we are. That's how we deal with stuff. Like in general,
Yeah,
in our field, we joke around all the time. We piss at each other. We mess with each other. But
hmm
that's how we take care of each other. Like you and I, we mess
yeah,
with each other
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, it's for me the most touching thing when I got there was uh, at our agency was we had my wife required a brain surgery, and this was the height of COVID 2020. We had to go to Maryland. I had family up there, thank
Oh
God,
yeah,
but man, they did a GoFundMe, and we had money because it was so expensive to go up there, stay there. It was just the travel. It was tough for all of us, but the fire department came together. They got they did a GoFundMe, and I can't thank the people we work with enough for that. Just they were there for me when it was so tough, and that's so important in our business. Whether you're an EMT, medic, firefighter, or combination thereof, you're there in the same trenches, and when somebody's down and out, they're there to help pick you up. And
yeah.
I've seen it 100 times. And it's just you don't see that work anywhere else, and it's such a
No,
wonderful thing seeing that.
yeah. You don't see them working in cubicles 9 to 5.
No,
Definitely,
no, God,
no.
I couldn't do that. That's
No.
I don't know how my mother's been a secretary for
Oh,
gosh, years,
oh
and
God.
she's still
Oh,
working and doing that.
God.
And she tells me about her day. And we used to go out to when I was single. We used to I would meet up with them for dinner a lot of times, and they would tell me about their day. And they were like, "Well, how was your day?" And I was like, "How was your shift last night?" Or something like, "Oh, you don't want to know." And then they would try to pry, and I would tell them something, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, we don't want to
Oh,
know."
yeah, the same with
They would tell
family.
me something.
Yeah, same with
Yeah, I was
family.
like, "You don't want to know? That's fine." So it's the irony of it, though. Uh, Armando is getting to teach you and your wife in a class within like days
That's true.
apart. That was hilarious.
That's true. That's true. My wife was
That was
pregnant with my second child, and
yes,
you were her teacher or in one of the HA classes.
yes, one of the HA classes,
And
and
you
she
taught
goes,
me
"Oh,
like a week before, some shit like that.
oh yeah." She goes, "Do you know my husband, Armando?" I said, "Yes," and she goes, "Oh," and I go, "That's Armando." She goes, "Well, I hope it is." And I said, she was like, "Yeah, well, I can't get on the floor. I can't do CPR." I'm like, "Okay, you know what? You pass. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I don't."
Yeah,
She's like
you still
laughing
remember?
the whole time, and
Yeah.
she was like, "Well, do you want me to help out in scenarios and stuff?" I said, I need you to code record, and that would be the best thing, or use the Broslow tape. Nothing strenuous on you for today, because I remember she was like on her third trimester, and she was like, any day now. I'm
Yes,
like,
yes,
oh
yeah. She
man,
was working for, she was working at OMC actually, at the ER.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
now
right,
she works in a different
man.
place, but
Yeah, yeah. You were telling me she works there, but
s-
that's a place I learned a lot working there. But man, I
yes,
couldn't do that one again. That was a good place though. I
it
liked
is.
working in
It
the
is.
ER. I was there for about 4, almost 5 years. When it was good. I learned a lot, but don't know in my 40s right now if I could ever go back
Go
and do
back.
that
No,
again.
me either. I'm done with that shit. I'm done.
Oh yeah,
It's,
it's just
I work in ER for 4 or 5 years between couple
yeah,
ERs, and now I'm like, nope, I'm not going back.
yep.
Nuh-uh.
I'll teach and I'll work where we work and husband, dad, and that's all I can handle anymore. I've got enough on my plate. So
Oh, I feel you. Yeah, I got a lot in my plate, but yeah, that's life. What can I say?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, it's funny though that you taught me and my wife almost the same week, and
I
and now
just
and
I
now I'm teaching with you. Now
yeah, yeah.
we
That's
both instructors.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite thing. I love what we do. Not only that, but my career segued into that, and during doing AHA stuff, and I've always enjoyed doing that. And that segued into multiple other things. So that's how I feel like we stay sharp as pre-hospital
Yeah,
providers.
100%.
It's oh man, there's
It's
so
a
much
lot.
to learn.
It is a
So
lot to learn. I know you're really good at
yeah.
stroke. I know that.
I teach for AHA has a new course called Advanced Stroke Life Support (ASLS), and I enjoy that. That's very good. Stroke is one of those deals where, if listeners have realized that I'm kind of a nerd when it even comes to my pre-hospital medical stuff. I'm always reading this stuff. If you haven't figured that out by now, stroke is one of those things. Once I took stroke class in Miami, I realized that there was so much more to stroke that I didn't know. And I felt like we mostly teach, unless you're in a neuro unit in the in-hospital setting, they teach you NIH, and that's a very robust assessment tool. They really just teach us Cincinnati or BFAST or whatever
That's
local
it.
when you have. They don't really touch. I mean, we were like, hey, you got a facial droop. We mostly teach for embolic strokes and not your hemorrhagic strokes. One thing that really amazed me was the subtle signs of a midbrain stroke. And the midbrain strokes are you really have to have decent assessment skills and have that high index of suspicion looking for it. If you have that diplopia with the ataxic gait, the unilateral limb ataxia, that's usually a cerebellar stroke. It's happening to the basilar artery. That's
Yeah,
something that you look for. Man, it's so quickly. You're like, okay, is it a migraine? Why does this person have
yeah,
sudden onset of nausea, vomiting, and are they motion sick? There's so many other conditions that this can mimic, but to
100%.
happen out of the blue is just why.
Like a sudden
So
onset of syncope episode of dizziness and out of nowhere
yeah,
in young
it's
people. Whoa, that's not normal.
it's there's times I had it before, where we work, we've had these ones where people joke with me, go, "Oh, it's stroke alert." And I'm like, well, you know what? At this point, I'm following everything I'm looking at. I would feel guilty if I didn't because I'm starting to think that pathway. And the one thing I don't want is for another provider to take them to an inappropriate hospital because just like the heart, time is brain. And if I
Yeah,
detect something and I don't act upon it, I haven't done any good for this patient. And that's where I feel is so important is once you get that training, once you understand the patho and the prodromal signs of
yeah.
what these conditions are, man, is it
You don't go
the
back. You
pathonomic
don't go
signs
back.
of that condition. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean the pathonomic signs of that are so subtle and match other very simple conditions such as motion sickness, even vertigo. Central
mhm,
vertigo is going to be probably one of the big ones there at that point. So,
it's true. And that's another thing too. Like, if you once you get that knowledge, you cannot turn it off. You
hmm
can't. And I have multiple people say, "Hey, what are you doing EKG in somebody with a toe pain?" Because one time I had somebody with a toe pain, a heart rate of 200. So
yeah, it's
that's not normal.
uh, we a lot of times for us, I anymore, and you worked in the ER. How many EKGs did you think they did
Oh
on a
my
daily
god.
basis? It seemed like
hundreds, like
it was
water,
every 5 minutes you were doing an EKG on these
oh,
people.
like
To the point
water.
you're like, oh, seriously? Come on.
I know.
And now
Yeah,
you look at it, and then sometimes I think to myself, why aren't we doing the exact same thing
yeah.
out there? And it's that I think there's some of that cognitive rigidity that we go through with when saying, hey, this is I know it's dehydration.
Maybe.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
dehydration mimics other conditions. It has
yeah.
several anginal equivalent symptoms of that: weakness, dizziness, diaphoresis, nausea, vomiting. All that sounds like heat exhaustion, but is it? you know.
Exactly. No, no, I
So,
hear you. I was talking to EMS German instructor. I think I told you about it. And over
yeah.
there, they're trying to go to the way we are, because over the medics outside the U.S. are trained, but it's not as advanced as us in the U.S. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So they
Yeah. I
cannot
remember you saying
diagnose
that.
a lot
Yeah.
of things. Yeah. So over there, they got a doctor on a TV and inside the rescue, and
Okay.
they say, "Hey, I got somebody with chest pain." Bring the EKG and
Yeah.
show it to the doctor on the TV. It's crazy, right?
And meanwhile, you got guys like Allie who's like, "Oh, look at this here," and they're like, "Uh huh."
Exactly. So meanwhile, here that's it. I mean, after you and I or Ali or anybody else, medic wise, that's it. The only hard basically provider will be going to the emergency room or calling the radio
Yeah. Yeah.
if you have time.
It's that's something when I teach about 12 EKGs for pre-hospital providers, we really don't have any way to really look deep inside the patient other than good quality
Yeah.
assessment and 12 lead. I mean, you not counting your blood glucose check, sure, that's going to tell me that they have high or low or are a euglycemic patient.
Even
But
title CO2 too. I mean,
entitle CO2 is that, yeah, let's add in entitle CO2. That's absolutely right. Entitle CO2 is going to tell me about perfusion and some of that stuff. But really good quality assessment and your 12 lead, I mean, 12 lead to somebody who knows what they're looking at, you can find a multitude of problems there. If you know what the morphology you're looking at of that 12 lead, you can find so much about them.
oh
And
yeah,
it's to me, I think that paramedic school is going to set you up so you can detect a STEMI.
yeah,
Um, but as far as in our clinical practice, when we move on, there's so much more you can kind of add on to that to help out and be that patient advocate. And that's why, hats off to Ali. He's really taken that off by storm. He's got a wonderful podcast and wonderful lessons on 12 lead. Me,
oh yeah.
I like to broaden a lot of different avenues of medicine. I'm always reading something. I was
You
reading
should have
about,
a podcast. You should
you
have a
know,
podcast.
maybe it's you have to show me about these podcasts. I am
I
very
will.
old school when it comes to this. Yeah.
Oh, I know. You need. Oh yeah, I know. You need a bonfire to start a computer. Yeah, for you
Oh yeah.
and
There's
wine
so
it.
many times when I'm like, when I told you were like, hey, you want to be on a podcast? I'm like, I've never been on a podcast. I don't know. Listened to hundreds of them, but I've never been on one myself.
Well, I'm glad.
So
I'm glad I'm the first one on your
very
live.
first.
I'm the first. I'm the
Yeah,
one who
very
burst the
first.
bubble. Yeah, I took away
Yeah.
the ticket. That's me. I was the first one.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so this is
No matter what.
honored to have you be on here. So
Hey, you can be in Joe Rogan, but I could say I was the first.
yeah, it's true. It's true. I don't know. They're gonna be like, this is like the poor man's Joe Rogan right here.
It is. It
This
is. It's the
it's like
beginnings.
this is the Wish.com or the Timu one. Here is a
Yeah.
who is this Vin
Hey,
Diesel?
hey. One party, one country.
Yeah, right. you know, is this the cheaper Vin Diesel that we have here? It's like this is
I
not what
know.
you ordered. It's
No, this is not what yours. It's a wish list. That's what it is. It's a wish
That's
list.
the Wish.com one. Yeah, exactly. That's why I tell everybody. I used to say Uncle Fester, and then I realized my age. That was before the Wednesday show came out, and they were like, "Oh, who's
Oh
Uncle
yeah.
Fester?" And I was teaching new residents that were coming through just out of medical school, ACLS, and I was teaching them, putting them through the scenarios and stuff. And I realized something was wrong because if you've watched the movie Spies Like Us, have you seen that? Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd. So I'm
That's old, man.
getting old here. That's
That's 80 something. That's like
1980s. So,
90, early 90s.
no, that
That's
was the 1980s. That was like 86, 87, I want to say. So,
wait.
uh,
How old are you? You 40? Almost
42.
40. All
You're
right. So we
42.
got like 3 years to separate. I'll be
Yeah.
39
Yeah.
in a week. So
Yeah. See, oh, that's awesome, man. Happy birthday. Happy early birthday.
Thank you, thank you. Brown won't crack. You know how it is.
Yeah, right. So, nothing changes when you hit 40. It just hurts more. That's all it is. Things hurt
Exactly.
more. That's it.
Yeah.
But the one thing I look at too was I remember saying there's a scene in that movie where they kept on going, they were imitating doctors and they kept on going, doctor, doctor. And I made that joke in this class, back to these residents, and they looked at me like I was two heads.
100%.
And then I said, oh, yeah, well, I made the joke. I said, you can go back home and say, Uncle Fester taught you today. They looked at me like I had three heads. And I'm like, who?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You
I
have to
had to
get on
change my
TikTok.
tactics.
Yeah, you have to get Mr. Beast, one of those things. I mean, you have to talk about the
Yes,
recent stuff.
it's it's on one point it's an honor being able to help with their education and their skill set post after they get out of medical school. But on the same token, it's like the same thing with pediatrics. I got to change my tactics with them here a little bit because they're probably not picking up what I'm saying. It's easier with pediatrics than it is as new residents. I'll put it that way.
Oh, wow. Oh, see, almost 45 minutes. See, time fly
Yeah,
when you have
yeah,
fun. So before we
yeah,
go,
absolutely. This is
I got a couple questions. What do you think
sure.
about X-Men 97?
I loved it. Honestly, the biggest thing for me with that was I grew up with the X-Men. As far back as I can remember, I've loved the comics. I just put several away. I just got the first appearance of Alpha Flight, X-Men
Alpha Flight.
120.
Who's
Alpha
Alpha Flight?
Flight was Wolverine's team that found him
Is
before
it
he
Canadian?
went
That's
to.
a Canadian team, if I
Yeah, it was a
remember.
Canadian superhero team. People go, "Why
Oh,
would you buy that?" I said, "Well, yeah, I had to get
with
that one."
the little guy who's like a ball and then like an Indian dude
Buck,
and
yeah, they showed up in one of the X-Men episodes. Yeah, that's right. I didn't have that comic, and I got a good deal on it. eBay's been my friend here over the years, so that's where overtime money goes, I guess. But X-Men '97 was really good. Towards the end of it, I was kind of like, man, they're putting a lot of plot holes or a lot of plots,
yes,
subplots here
right?
in the last episode. I'm anxious to see what they're going to do on the next one, but I was totally geeking out on this. Oh
Oh, I
my gosh,
bet.
this is wonderful. So
Yeah,
this
yeah. Give it to daddy.
brought me back to my
Daddy's
kid.
yeah, daddy's hungry.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's the same thing with the new Deadpool Wolverine. In that movie, they had a
Yeah.
lot of famous covers that were seen in it, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it. But my wife whispers to me in the movie theater, "Do you have all those comic book covers there?" I said, "Yes, I do." She goes, "I figured." you know.
Hey,
So
you got it.
yeah.
I got a question about the X-Men. So the future of Wolverine on the X-Men
hmm
97, they removed the
hmm
adamantium out of the skeleton. So what
Yeah.
do you think they're
Yeah.
taking that
That
story?
was
Because there's a bunch of stories around. Like there's a bunch of plots over there.
yeah. The weird part about it was when they removed his adamantium. Um, I'm going to sound like a real big nerd. I'm probably worse than it, but I remember thinking being sad about that when I was a kid. And I'm like, I was in Fatal Attractions. I have a couple copies of that. One of them signed, I think, actually by the artist. I found that in
Man,
some comic book bundle I have.
that's
And
money, buddy. That's money.
yeah, that's what I said too. I'm like, I'm keeping that there. My wife's like, how much is it worth? I go, none of your business. But that one, I remember that was a good 8, 9 years before he got his adamantium back in that.
Oh
And
wow.
really, if I remember correctly, it was in an obscure issue. It was like for Wolverine number 145 during the 2000 early 2000s. I have that comic somewhere where he got it back. I think I've got two different copies of it. That's how they do with comic book.
Awesome.
I'm hoping that's a big storyline with him, so I want to see what they do with that. I'm hoping they do it justice. So
Yeah, because they're doing Apocalypse. Obviously, they're doing all the Apocalypse crap.
yeah,
They're doing the
yeah. I
Gambit
bought
and
his
becoming
first.
yes, if you're doing Gambit too, becoming Apocalypse Horseman.
Death. Yeah, death. That happened in the comics. Actually, Wolverine did too.
Yeah.
Um, I have the first appearance of Apocalypse. I think I bought that when I was I think it was in EMT school. I want to say for about $15 back in the day. That was
Oh
long
wow.
before any of this. I have the first appearance of Deadpool as well, and Deadpool was one of those ones where my wife told me there's a comic book box in the back. Have you looked at that one? I found that one and I had the first appearance of Deadpool, Cable, and Domino. So I was like,
Oh, that's
don't remember
the
buying it.
which team is that? It's a special. I forgot the name of the team.
There was X Force is what it turned
X
into,
Force.
and then they
Yeah,
were New Mutants before.
yeah, yeah.
I had
Look
like
at
a
you.
bunch of those.
Such a nerd. I
Yeah.
love it. I
I
love it.
see. I know. It's like nothing changes. This is all the same stuff. I just had to actually look at it. I was getting frustrated because one of my comic book boxes is filled up. So I'm like, man, I got to go get another comic book box to put more comics
Oh,
in it.
God damn it. Life is so hard.
I know, right? It's like, you go to work, do a job you love, and you collect comic books. I mean, it's
What else
not
do you need?
hard.
What else do you
Yeah,
need? And
exactly.
before we go, what advice you would give to a brand new EMT or medic the first day on the job to survive the first shift, which is probably shit. You know how it is. First shift, you
Oh,
got
yeah.
all the calls in the world. What do you give to
I
that
would say this to
advice?
anybody. You're entering a family and don't expect to be a part of it immediately. There is a little bit you gotta kind of drink the Kool-Aid, but also too at the same time, we have 2 ears and two eyes for a reason. Absorb for that first year. Absorb everything you can. There, any training opportunity, take it. Rely on your seasoned medics and EMTs. Listen to what they say. Make sure that you are an asset and try to build yourself to be an asset for the whatever organization you're at.
Nice. And who you recommend to come in the podcast and talk with me? Out of people that
Oh
you know a lot
gosh,
of people, but it could be anybody
yeah,
from
there's.
our place
Oh,
of work or anybody. Who you recommend?
oh gosh, yeah. I would say um, the guy that I think I admire a lot. I don't have his medical, or excuse me, his knowledge on this, but his knowledge on high rise and everything else was Brian Strong. He's not EMS, obviously coming, but the guy is
Ooh,
very talented when it comes
he is.
to the high rise and being
Trucks.
an
Truck.
engineer, just to get away from EMS and for a little bit and trying to change gears a little bit, I think it'd be a great idea to bring him on board because he's very talented with that, and somebody I admire with his knowledge with that there because it tells you something about the guy when they're calling. Other places are calling to ask what's wrong with their apparatus, and this is
Yeah.
the guy they call. That to me
Yeah.
is amazing, and
Yeah.
I, the guy I also admire too is Pete Simon. Pete Simon, to me, he jokes with me about me being, always says, "Well, do you need to come with me, Andrew?" When he was on the box, because I would always go looking deep into stuff and thinking something and thinking kind of I guess getting a high index of suspicion of certain things that maybe other people weren't looking at. But as far as an officer, I think he and
Did a great
Ty
job.
Epling do such a wonderful job and inspiring their crews and coming through and doing it.
Nice.
Just they were guys. If my house was on fire or something was happening to my family, I'd want those guys around.
Yeah. Funny thing. I talked to Ty and Pete to come to the podcast, and they're
No, did
still
you? Yeah,
kind of like, I don't know, bro. Okay, bro. I'm not talking about feelings. Talking about who you are. That's it. Just
yeah.
relax. It is what it
That
is.
I
But
worked.
I talked to them already, so I will say now that I have you in a podcast recorded online forever. I say,
Yes,
hey,
yeah, and
Andrew
it,
suggests to you.
I, I think it would be important to get an officer's perspective on things and how to inspire their
Yeah.
crews. It's great we know how to operate on scene and everything, but how to be a good officer, good leader on scene. I think those guys would do an excellent job
Good.
with that. When I've been on scenes with them, I'm usually like, all right, good. I've got a good solid officer that knows his
Good.
tactics and knows how to keep his people motivated and going. And they do a wonderful job
Stuff.
with that.
Yeah, they do. All right. So yeah, I will talk to them again. I'll tell them you say that they need to be in the podcast because they won't believe me,
Yes.
especially Strong. I want to talk to Strong, especially Thailand trips. That would be awesome to talk about that.
Yeah, that would be really cool. He does so much more traveling than I ever do. I would love to do the traveling. So you keep me in mind for that
I
over to
will.
Germany.
My next trip. Yeah, this is a person that I want to say, if she's Christine from Germany, she's the EMS
Okay,
instructor, and
okay.
hopefully when she sees episodes, say, "Oh, guys, yeah, we want to go there, and I want to bring you and Ali and
She's
share some
gonna bring
EMS."
that nerd, the bald nerd.
The bowler and the guy with the grandma with the gray hair
So yeah,
to
it's I can
Germany.
see that. I can see it. Yeah, Germany. The wife has said when I brought it up one time, she said, "Well, I'm going with you, so we might have
Okay.
a stowaway." I'm just
Oh, my wife too. My wife said, "Yeah, I'm going with
oh,
you.
really?
There's no
Okay,
way.
okay. So good, good.
There's no
All
way."
right.
Yeah. So they can do
Okay.
their thing, and we can be in the middle. Because the place I want to go is literally you can see Netherlands from the window of her
Oh,
office.
be beautiful.
So
I
they
love
do
that.
mutual aid between countries sometimes.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you said something about that. That's
Yeah,
amazing to
that would be
me. Such a
crazy.
different world.
I know,
Yeah,
right? That's like in the middle of nowhere. Oh, let me just cross the border. I'm in Netherlands now.
yeah.
That's
That is.
yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, we'll see if we can make it happen, bro. I appreciate it being the
yeah, man.
podcast. For
Well,
those who
thank you
are,
for having me here.
you're welcome. And people, new ones, thank you for listening to the podcast. So seeing the podcast on YouTube. For the people that return, thank you so much. Oh, I got merch. I got t-shirts. I
Oh, nice.
got yeah, I got a hat.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
yeah. Bro. I need to make some money. It's America.
Yeah, I'm a buyer. I'll go for it.
Yeah, I'll put the link for the t-shirts and the merchandise on the episode below. If people want to talk to you, say, "Hey, Andrew, I got questions about pediatric or stroke or whatever EMS related."
Sure.
Where they can find you? I know your social media is kind of low, but
My social media is kind of low. Generally speaking, I'm on Facebook as Andrew Simpson. Sometimes you can find me on there.
okay.
If there was a question, should I put my email out?
We'll say the Facebook is fine.
Facebook is
So
good. Okay,
yeah,
I'm
Andrew
following your
Simpson.
lead on this. I don't know, man. So
No, then you got
Facebook.
your fans. Then you got a
Oh
fan
yeah,
that
right. Yeah, times are tough. So you're
hey,
right.
20 bucks, bro.
But no, Facebook. You can find me on there. Andrew
Sweet.
Simpson. On there, or Andrew Simpson, and just Orlando, Florida. You usually find me on there, especially if you're in Central Florida area. I'm around there. Always willing. Just tell me you saw the podcast and you had this question, then I'd be more than happy to answer. But if anything else, be safe out there, guys, and hope to hear from
It's
you.
true. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you maybe Friday, because
Friday, absolutely, man.
I'm itching Friday.
Are you? Who knows if they'll pull me into that? But I'll be there on Monday too. So,
All right, sweet. So
yeah.
everybody, see ya.